to take a look at the 3 most popular expat destinations in Mexico and learn why they're the most popular expat destinations. And then you can compare when you get ready to come down and take a look at your favorite place to buy a second home or retire.
So viewers, welcome back to another video. I am Maya, your interview host for Berkshire Hathaway Home Services here in San Miguel de Allende in central Mexico. Today we're with Greg Gunter, broker and co-owner of the sole Berkshire Hathaway Home Services office here in San Miguel de Allende. Hello, Greg.
Good morning, Maya. Good to see you again.
Good morning. It's always great to see you. Viewers, today's video blog is really for those of you new to the research of choosing Mexico as a retirement or second home destination. Perhaps you've decided Mexico is the country of your choice. After all, we border the US and you can be back home with a 2-hour flight. But perhaps you're not sure where you want to live in Mexico. We've all heard that there's strength in numbers, and indeed, many people like to explore destinations where thousands of expats who have already done the research have chosen as their retirement home and now live, either full-time or as a part-time vacation homeowners. Using some statistics from the US State Department, today we'll explore the 3 top expat cities in Mexico that host the most American expats. The government is able to track those numbers by the residency visas that are granted to American citizens choosing Mexico as their country of residence. An expat's residency visa is issued to their city of residence, and that's how we track the expat population numbers. Okay, Greg, drum roll, please. Share with our viewers today which city in Mexico has the greatest number of American expats living there.
Okay, maybe this will be a little bit of a surprise. Well, I don't know. It depends if you live in Southern California. It won't be a surprise. But team viewers, let me back up a little bit and tell you, I went through this exact same process. I've lived in Mexico for 15 years, but I went through the exact same process of deciding where was it that I wanted to land when I was looking in Mexico. I chose Mexico as a destination to, well, semi-retire. I'm still working, as you see. But I chose to move here at a very early age, a young age. I moved down here at the whopping youthful age of 50. And Mexico was my destination, of course, because it's close to the United States. I thought I'd still be going back up to, actually, I thought I'd still be running my old business. And I knew I could be back in 2 hours, and I still had family and friends, you know. So Mexico is the quick destination as far as a country. But then I went through all the various expat destinations to choose which I would choose from. So today, we'll at least go through those top 3 expat destinations from a population standpoint. You figure if there's the most people, you know, coming from the United States that live there, there must be a reason why, right? So we're going to talk about the top 3, and let's start, drum roll, as she said, for number 1. Believe it or not, it's Tijuana. So Tijuana, which is just south, for those of you that don't know, just south of San Diego, is a city of about 2 million people. It's a very large city, very large metropolitan area, very, very popular, very well known. You know what really put Tijuana on the map is back in the 20s during Prohibition. It was easy to cross the border and come down to Tijuana and have a great time and have your gin and tonics and gamble a little bit, play a little highlight, go to the races. You know, Rita Hayworth was discovered in Aguas Calientes, the resort in Tijuana. And actually, this is another funny story in the 20s. A lot of Americans came across the border to celebrate 4th of July in 1923. And in 24, same thing. They came back again in 1924, and there was the Hotel Cesar that was there. Cesar Cardini owned the Hotel Cesar. He's the guy that invented the Caesar salad. Isn't that funny? He was sort of running out of ingredients and sort of made up a little salad that was, you know, for the 4th of July rush that was coming down to drink, you know, gin and tonics or margaritas, especially in Tijuana. So there's a lot of funny little anecdotes about what has made Tijuana famous. You know, the margarita was supposedly invented there just on the outskirts of town as well. That's a little less documented, but the Caesar salad has been documented very broadly. Julia Child came down and actually met him, and she now owns the original recipe for the Caesar salad. Anyway, the reason that Tijuana is the #1 expat destination, or at least from a residential population perspective, is because those people all sleep in Tijuana. because they can get a cheaper home, and then they drive across the border to go to work every day in San Diego. There are more than 50 million border crossings every year, 50 million border crossings every year between Tijuana and San Diego. So a lot of that traffic are people that literally live in the bedroom community of Tijuana and just drive up north for, for work. So it's really more of a bedroom community. It's really not what a lot of us expats that are looking to retire or have a second home would necessarily consider as a good option. Unfortunately, Tijuana is, if you go on the Wikipedia page and look at it, the online crime ranking website called Statista ranks it as the second worst homicide in the entire world. So it's a little bit of a dangerous city. And the entertainment that you find there tend to be more gambling, casinos, horse races, highlight, those types of entertainment that maybe don't quite appeal to some of the demographic that come to some of the other two top destinations that you're going to hear about in just a bit. So it's a different kind of crowd that go there. It's near the Valle de Guadalupe, which is a great wine district, but that's really a whole different place to stay. Tijuana is like, it's like saying San Francisco and Napa Valley. They're two different cities. So it's kind of the same thing with Tijuana. So that's the reason why Tijuana has the greatest number of American residents that own a home there and have a residency visa, but not necessarily for the reasons that many of the rest of us would necessarily look there. So let's go on from there.
Thank you, Greg. That's great insight. And I bet a lot of people didn't know the story that Cesar Cardini invented the Caesar salad there in 1924. Wow. So let's move on to the second destination for American expats in Mexico.
Okay, another drum roll here. And this is a place that half of you can't pronounce probably, and many of you may not have heard of. It's not anywhere near as well known as the third most popular expat destination. So the second most populous from the number of residency visas issued to Americans is an area called Lake Chapala. And the little town there is called Ajijic. A lot of people have a hard time pronouncing that, Ajijic. It's obviously a very Mexican name, huh? It's a very Aztec name, actually. So Lake Chapala is the largest lake in Mexico. This is a funny story to share with me. A lot of people don't actually know this. I have a good friend, a Mexican doctor that I was friends with when I lived in San Diego. And he's now, gosh, he's probably almost 90 years old now at this point. He was actually born in Chapala because back in the 20s when he was born, Chapala was sort of like the inland Riviera for the wealthy Mexico City crowd. So even though he's from Mexico City, his mama, they drove out to Chapala and he was born in Chapala. So when he tells the people from Tijuana where he's from, he goes, no, I'm not a Chilango from Mexico City. I'm from Chapala. Chapala, interestingly enough, was, like I said, an inland Riviera. It was a very nice upscale resort destination back in the 20s and perhaps even into the 30s. Unfortunately, Mexico does not have an EPA, so all of the fertilizer and the runoff and everything over the many decades since then have all run into the lake, and it's actually kind of a dying lake, unfortunately. The lake has receded probably 20 or 30 feet. What used to be the Malecon is way up above the water level now. It's a very different kind of place. It is still a big body of water, but it's not a recreational body of water. People don't ski and they might kayak once in a while, but they, as they joke, don't fall out of your kayak and lick your lips, you get sick. So Ajijic is very popular with the retired military and with Canadians. The reason is because it's more of a budget-oriented destination. So home prices there are much cheaper, and the reason is because, frankly, there's less demand for that particular type of location because there's not that much to do. There's not that much history. The architecture is not quite as rich. The town of Ajijic is stretched out over the length of the lake, and it's a two-lane road. So there are times when, I've had clients that have said it takes them 30 minutes to drive to dinner because they're stuck on the traffic, driving along Ajijic to get to, the closest restaurant. So it's a different kind of crowd there. I say a lot of Canadians are there as well because, of course, they have to own two homes. They have to keep their residency in Canada to keep their socialized medicine. So the home that they have in Mexico, they can only live there for 5 months and 29 days. So since it's a second home, it tends to be a little more budget oriented. So the town of Ajic is not as popular. There's not as many things to do. There's a 9-hole golf course. There's now a small theater group there, but there's really not that much to do. I actually have 3 friends that lived in Ajic and were up in the 3rd most popular destination, we'll hear in just a moment, almost every weekend to find something to do. So that's the sort of the drawback. I mean, there are people that love the lake as a visual destination, as a visual feature, for owning a home there, and the homes are much more affordable. So that is a good place to look if you're less lifestyle oriented and more budget oriented. Then the Lake Chapala and Ajijic area might be a good destination. It's another funny little anecdote. We talked about Rita Hayworth in Tijuana. D.H. Lawrence actually did live in Ajijic for a while. Remember D.H. Lawrence, Lady Chatterley's lover? That was not the book he was writing when he was living in Ajijic. Wasn't quite that steamy, but he did live in Ajijic for a while and wrote a novel there. So I've got a fun story about famous residences for each of these top 3 destinations. D.H. Lawrence is the one for Ajijic.
You for sharing these amazing stories, Greg. We had Rita Hayworth being discovered in Tijuana and D.H. Lauren writing books in Lake Chapala. So I can't wait to hear the stories about the 3rd biggest expat destination in Mexico. Please tell us, Greg, what is the 3rd most popular destination for Americans to choose as their retirement home in Mexico?
So another drum roll here. This is an easy one for me to talk about because I live here in the number 3 most populous destination. However, we would argue that it is the most popular from a publicity perspective because my little city has been ranked the number 1 small city in the world 5 different years by Condé Nast Traveler. And the same thing from Travel and Leisure magazine. We just won the number 5 or the 5th year designation from Travel and Leisure. And that town is called San Miguel de Allende. If you've ever watched any of my other videos, that's where I live. That's where I'm a broker and a realtor. I've been here for 15 years full time. And again, I did the same kind of research. I actually went to Ajijic also. And I went, ooh, I'd already been to San Miguel once for a week's long vacation and was in love with it. But I said, I have to compare. I have to go to the other destinations and compare. And I landed in Ajijic and I said, no, it doesn't hold a candle. So I have friends that live in Ajijic, nothing against it, that's great. They love it there. But, from my perspective, I'm an architect. I love the architecture. I love the culture. So any place that's been named the number 1 city in the world 5 different years, I mean, even Paris has not been named the number 1 city in the world for 5 different years. You can guess that that's because there's a lot of support here. There's a lot of, I always tell my clients that we offer the largest English language, social and cultural infrastructure anywhere in Mexico. So if you're looking for the opera, you're looking for a classical quartet, you're looking for a piano bar where they're singing Frank Sinatra, you're looking for a play, a theatrical play, any of those that you might be interested in the English language, and also sometimes in Spanish, of course, you can find it here in San Miguel de Allende. We have multiple websites. SanMiguelLive.com, for instance, is a great option. SanMiguelEvents.com. that will profile everything that's going on. And on any given night, you'll find 3, 4, 5, 6 different events going on, whether it's a art gallery opening, a musical performance, a theater play, you name it. I mean, we have the Guanajuato International Film Festival. We have the Jazz and Blues Festival. We have the largest bilingual writers conference in the world here every February. Lots of those annual events that happen every year. The Writers' Conference is probably 16 years old at this point, I think. Guanajuato International Film Festival, the same thing. It's been around for many years. So lots of people do land in San Miguel de Allende, and they love it here. I've been here full time, like I said, 15 years. A lot of my clients and friends live here part time. So they'll be here maybe, somewhere between 6 and 9 or 10 months of the year, and they're traveling or going back up to see grandkids in the United States. Now, I've had fun kind of profiling the kinds of celebrities that have been attracted to the various locations. San Miguel de Allende has always been sort of the Hollywood hotspot for the Mexican Hollywood set. So if any of you have heard of the Mexican actor Cantinflas, he was for those of us gringos, we remember the little sidekick in Around the World in 80 Days with David Niven. That sidekick of David's was Cantinflas. He was a very famous Mexican actor. He had a home here in San Miguel de Allende, even though he's from Mexico City. His home here in San Miguel is now a 56-room hotel. Ha, can you imagine? Ha, that was his home. Many opera singers, Mexican opera singers have had homes here. Jose Mojica is one very good example. Pedro Vargas. I mean, there's a lot of great examples of the Mexican Hollywood jet set that have had homes here. But from an American perspective, we draw a lot of that similar kind of crowd. If any of you remember the Beat generation from the 60s and 70s, Jack Kerouac and Neil Cassidy used to hang out down here all the time. Unfortunately, Neil Cassidy was down here having a little too much fun, as we might say, walking along the railroad tracks at 2 in the morning, and they found him the next morning dead beside the railroad tracks. So Neil Cassidy actually passed away down here. But a lot of other fun stories about people that have lived down here. The singer David Cassidy, I think was his name, owned a home down here. Johnny Carson's sidekick owned a home down here. Remember, I'm blanking on his name now. Johnny Carson's sidekick that led the band lived down here. The guy that founded MTV, Bob Pittman, had a home down here for many, many years. So we get a lot of the celebrity crowd that ends up in San Miguel too. But, I'm not a celebrity. You probably not either. You're here for the lifestyle. So that's the one good thing to remember is that we are the third most populous, but probably the most popular from a visitation standpoint, and a ton of people that live down here and they just rent. So they don't have a residency visa necessarily. They just rent for, a period of time. So that would probably make us the #1 expat destination if you counted those renters that don't have residency visas down here. But at any rate, that's the #3 most populous, and I'd like to think the most popular destination in Mexico. You got to come down and visit.
Sure, have to come visit. And thank you, Greg, for sharing all these stories. They're so much fun, and I bet a lot of our viewers didn't know them. So it's great to just talk about the history of each of these places. And there we have it, the 3 most popular destinations in Mexico for American expats. And that's not even counting Canadian expats, since we don't have the statistics for them. But you and I have lots of Canadian neighbors living here, don't we?
Yeah, it's interesting because about 11% of our buying market here are Canadians. So I've worked with tons of Canadians over the years that I've been doing real estate here, and we're seeing especially popular with the crowd from British Columbia. I mean, I have clients from all over Canada, but a lot of them come from British Columbia, especially around Vancouver. I actually sold a home to, has anybody seen the movie Nacho Libre with Jack Black? That's a really cool movie. One of the assistant directors for that movie was a client of mine. He's from Vancouver, and he bought a home down here too. So a lot of Canadian clients. Yeah, you're right, Maya.
So viewers, we hope you enjoyed learning about the 3 most popular destinations in Mexico for American expats who return in Mexico. I bet you weren't surprised to hear that the city named as the #1 small city in the world 5 different times by Condé Nast Traveler was the 3rd most popular city in Mexico for American retirees. You learned today from an expert. Greg's been an expat for 15 years here already, right, Greg?
Yeah, that's the key. You can take it from me. I've lived here 15 years full time. I don't have a real estate back up in the United States. I no longer have any business up in the United States. So I live here full time and absolutely love it. I tell my clients they're going to carry me out in a box. I don't plan on leaving. So I think you'll find the same way. Many of my clients fall in love on their first visit. I knew within the first 24 hours of getting here that I was going to live here full time. I mean, the architecture here is phenomenal. We have 480 years of preserved Spanish colonial architecture that you're just going to fall in love with when you get here. And that alone is a visual treat, even before you learn all of the extra lifestyle amenities that we offer here that, you don't realize or you don't learn until you've been here for a week or a month. But the richness of the visual environment here is just phenomenal. It'll blow you away at the first visit. So come on down, say hi, give me a shout before you come down. I'll help you plan your trip, give you some good recommendations of places to stay, how to get back and forth from the airport. I've got another video that you'll find online on my YouTube channel that tells you how to get to the airport, which airport to fly into. In fact, take a look at my YouTube channel. So you're on it right now, I hope. Subscribe to it so you see more of these videos and like this video, and we'll send you more. Hope to see you again soon.
Great to see you again, Greg, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Maya.